Namaskar, His Holiness. Good morning.
Tristele.
So, I'm honored and truly grateful from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. We were trying to organize a session with you, with His Holiness, for last 4 years, and today it's like dreams come true. I can't express my feelings in words, how privileged I'm feeling as the moderator of this session, sitting right in front of a living legendary. My name is Naveen Sharma, co-founder Mind Mingle Education, which I started 6 years back with my colleague Shakil Ahmed. I welcome you all on the behalf of Mind Mingle, all the attendees here and people who are watching live on Facebook. Thank you, His Holiness, for the opportunity to express my very sincere gratitude for doing this conversation. Mind Mingle is an initiative to promote the concept of experiential learning methodology, purposeful education, and understanding the unique passion and potential of each child. By learning, we do not mean the mere cultivation of memory or the accumulation of knowledge, but total development of human being by encouraging students to inquire and to think independently. Mind Mingle is also in conversation, in discussion with C Learning India for future collaboration. C Learning, which stands for Social, Emotional, and Ethical Learning, is working on vision of His Holiness to promote secular ethics education from kindergarten to university. We have two of their members here from C Learning. So today we have educators from across the world here, from UK, USA, Indonesia, Japan, Vietnam, Australia, and many more countries. Thank you for joining us on this auspicious day. So today, theme of the today conversation is the need for secular ethics in modern education system. We agree that secular ethics need to be discussed by students and teachers. So here we are looking for guidance of His Holiness on need for secular ethics in education.
Thank you. My main concern is a happy world. In order to, firstly, individual, in order to be happy person, mere knowledge, no guarantee, bring happiness. So knowledge related with brain. So we are seeing very brilliant people, very highly educated, but very unhappy person. So now, I always, mentioned the modern education very much sort of oriented about material value. So now, in order to be happy person, that person need 1,000-year-old India's tradition, ahimsa, karuna. These two, also the 1,000-year-old India sort of concept, karuna, ahimsa. This karuna brings inner peace, inner strength. As a result, much less anxiety, fear. With that, ahimsa, not harming other. always restrain harming other. Physical action, verbal action, which create unhappiness other people, restrain these things. It's ahimsa. So in order to carry genuine ahimsa, ultimately karuna. So India already over, I think, 1,000 years, already, you see, concept of how to train our mind. So shamatha, vipassana. Shamatha means single-pointed mind. The shamatha, no, the vipassana, analytical meditation. In this country, over 2,000 years already developed. You see, these techniques, how to develop karuna, and with karuna, you say, how to determine to follow ahimsa. So now, I often, you see, expressing the modern education which come from West. You see, no knowledge how to tackle our emotion. So therefore, people or nation who highly educated about modern education, you see, and through education, through knowledge, variety of weapon, and finally, like a nuclear weapon. These, you see, these creation use our intelligence, our education, knowledge, and knowledge about science, technology, these things, but lack of moral principle. The lack of the concept of ahimsa, karuna. So now, this brilliant human mind, human brain, instead of bring inner peace, but more anxiety, more fear. Because this intelligence dominated by anger, hatred, fear, destructive emotion. So I often, you see, expressing the people everywhere, hygiene of physical everywhere, you see, take care or sense of concern about physical hygiene. Now we need hygiene of emotion. You see, that only Indian tradition. So therefore, now India should take more active role for promotion of inner peace, inner value, according to ahimsa and karuna. And India can combine modern education, that's mainly material thing, or external things, with that also very necessary. Combine that, the 1,000-year-old India's tradition, ahimsa, karuna, combine modern education and ancient Indian also the principle, karuna, ahimsa. So the previous century, Mahatma Gandhiji follow ahimsa. So eventually, many world, also the people, also follow Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violence also style. Like Kasachuti, Nelson Mandela. In Africa, Nelson Mandela. In America, Martin Luther King. So on. These people, you see, totally follow Mahatma Gandhiji's also the concept of ahimsa. The Surya, Ajit Surya, Luther King. I think Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, you see, his wife, now widow, his wife, once she told me, Martin Luther King so much impressed Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent also the philosophy. So he even, you see, want to dress like Mahatma Gandhiji. So now, 21st century, now we should, you should try, you Indian, should try to promote these ancient Indian knowledge, ahimsa, combine karuna, and also is a modern education. So, India is the only nation who can combine modern knowledge and ancient Indian knowledge, ahimsa, karuna, and sort of knowledge about mind. These things you can combine. Ahimsa, karuna, these not question of bring from other sort of tradition. It is your own tradition. Only question is revival of these these thought. So I always now I have 4 commitment. Number 1 commitment, I'm a human being, one of the 7 billion human being. As a human being, need inner peace, hygiene of emotion, as I mentioned earlier. Human being, whether believer or non-believer, that's individual matter, personal matter. But as a human being, we need peace, peaceful mind, so that we can develop humanity more happier and much less fear. Through that way, we really develop world peace. Unless taking care about our emotion, just knowledge, not emotion, then previous century, First World War, Second World War, and before that, in the European continent, a lot of sort of fighting, a lot of killing. The knowledge of science actually, you see, helping to create more violence. Very unfortunate. So now the world, more and more people now, as I mentioned earlier, realizing the peace. Now the point is, in order to create a peaceful world, firstly, we human beings who create violence, they themselves should make effort to inner peace, to create inner peace. So, my number one commitment as a human being, try to share 7 billion human beings, whether religious-minded or not, we should be a compassionate person. We have some sort of reason, some scientists, they say any social animal, you see, in order to survive, individual sort of animal, they need community. So we also social animal, so individual human beings' life entirely depend on the community. So therefore, look animal, you see, those social animal, they biologically, you see, they have some kind of, you see, a sense of concern about their community. So that's now some scientists say. Because of that, basic human nature is more compassionate. It is true. From child, as soon as we're born, we totally relying on our mother. Mother also taking full care, child. So these, the reason, now some scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate, not anger, not hatred. Eventually, when we join education, school, not pay much attention about these inner value. So children, till join school, children play together. They don't care what others' religious belief, different nationality, rich or poor, play together. Once children join education, then the emphasis, secondary level of thing, or you see, religious belief, or also the racial, all these things, then the concept of we and they. So now, in education, children, before they join education institution, they play together. They don't care what is secondary level of differences. Once join in education, then make distinction. That creates a strong feeling of we and they. So now education should be as the idea or concept, 7 billion human beings are one. We have to live side by side. So east to west, south and north, and different color, white, black or yellow. And then also religion. These are secondary. Basically, we are same human being. So we have to live together on this planet. So now, one new sort of development is the global warming. The global warming, you see, not making distinction, east, west, north, south, this nation, that nation. The whole world now become or warmer, like that. So according to some scientists, now within a few decades, the global warming then reach such a level that most of these rivers will dry. So now, according to that reality, now it is quite silly thinking my nation, my continent, or my group. No. Now we have to think about humanity. So my number one commitment, I'm just one human being out of 7 billion human beings. Then my second commitment, I'm a religious person, I'm Buddhist. So all religion, you see, in spite different tradition, at different time, at different places, all the religious main message is love, loving kindness. With that, the idea of forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline, contentment, these all major religious traditions, you see, carry same message. Then because of different place, different culture, so we need different way of approach. So a different religion, different philosophy developed. And all major religious traditions all carry same message of love. And for promotion or for develop conviction about importance of loving kindness, then different religion use different method. Some say there's a God, some say no God. So within also Buddhism, different tradition, different philosophy, and Nalanda institution itself, you see, develop at least 4 different Buddhist philosophical school of thought, like that. So these are methods to bring conviction, importance of loving kindness. So religious harmony, very possible. Now look, India, all major religious traditions exist in this country. So few occasions, some problems. But that also, I think, we may blame some politicians. Otherwise, I think this country, all world major religious traditions live together. I very much impressed. I never heard from Indian Muslim the sort of different sort of feeling, Shia and Sunni. No problem. Your neighbor, Syria and Afghanistan, these Muslim countries, same Muslim, same belief, Allah, Quran, but just a name, Shia and Sunni fighting, killing. So then this country, India, so all these different religious traditions live together. All world religious traditions exist in this country. So religious harmony over 1,000 years there. Therefore, I have full conviction religious harmony is possible. India is example. So therefore, my second commitment is try to promotion religious harmony. Then my third commitment, I'm Tibetan. The Tibetan people trust me. So therefore, regarding Tibetan political matter, since 2010, I totally
11.
uh,
11.
2011, I totally was retired from political responsibility. We already have democratic way, the elected political leaders here among our community. So they carry the responsibility. Now my responsibility is Tibetan culture. Here I want to share our Indian brothers, sisters, the best Indian knowledge which kept Nalanda tradition. So that now in India, just ruined some places, otherwise it's nothing. But we, Tibetan, we kept all these Nalanda knowledge. So sometimes I jokingly telling, previously, so before this 8th century, we always refer you Indian as our guru. India, we consider land of guru. We are Chela, disciple. Now today's reality, the guru, because neglected the ancient Indian knowledge, so you see guru, just a name. I think knowledge, now Chela, better knowledge than guru. So, my main sort of concern or responsibility regarding Tibet is to preserve these knowledge come from India. Firstly, 7th century, the Tibetan king, Songtsen Gampo, married with Chinese princess. But sometimes I feel little joke, the 7th century's Tibetan king, certainly he enjoyed Chinese princess and Chinese food. But regarding Chinese letter, he found too complicated. So he decided he create our own script. You see, based on Indian sort of Devanagari alphabet, Kaka Kanga, Cha Cha Chanya, like that. With that, our own script developed. The 7th century's Tibetan emperor, Tibetan king, I think quite wise. He developed our own script, copy from Indian Sanskrit mainly. So then 8th century, you see, again, a Tibetan king, Trisong Dezen, he looked Buddhist tradition in China, Buddhist tradition in India, he prefer the Chinese Buddhist tradition also, you see, from India. So original, also the source of Buddhism is India. So therefore, he invited, at that time, 8th century, one top master of Nalanda, Shantarikshita, he invited to Tibet. Now, once he reached Tibet, he advised the Tibetan king, Trisong Dezen, since you already developed your own language, script, so instead of study Sanskrit or Pali, should translate all these great texts which are available in Sanskrit or Pali. So the some scholars say, even Chandra Rakshita, his own age then, around 90, now he himself, you see, pays some attention about Tibetan language. But in any way, since then, translation started. So eventually, now, in Tibetan language, they say translation from Sanskrit or Pali. Altogether, Buddha's own teaching, about 100 volumes. Then a commentary wrote by mainly Nalendra master, such as Nagarjuna, Arya Asanga, Dignath, Dharmakirti, Chandrakirti. These is Nalendra master. You see, they are writing altogether 200 volumes. We have altogether 300 volumes. We study many of these books. I myself, now, 86-year-old person, but whenever I have sort of time, I read these books which translated from India. Really wonderful, really wonderful. Now, the one unique thing about the Nalendra tradition, Sanskrit tradition, we very much emphasis on reason, not faith. Buddha himself, you see, told his follower, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation." So Nalendra master, they investigate Buddha's own word. So whenever they find some contradiction, they reject even Buddha's own word. So they make also the distinction. Those Buddha's teaching, some literally can accept, some literally cannot accept, because it creates contradiction. So therefore, we Tibetan used to follow Nalendra tradition. That tradition, when I met Buddhist brothers, sisters from Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, so on, and China, and Korea, and Japan, you see, we Tibetan, we are refugee. But as far as knowledge about Nalendra tradition is concerned, our knowledge much better. So therefore, and then one unique thing, since we very much based on reasoning, through reasoning, even Buddha's own word, some words we can reject. Therefore, now today, modern science is very helpful. Combine scientific research and our logical research came together. So, some people consider me half Buddhist monk, half scientist, because our tradition, the Nalendra tradition, very scientific way of approach. So therefore, now, according to my own experience, combine scientific research and our logical approach combine. Very, very useful, very helpful. So now, among my friend, number of scientists, they really showing interest about some Buddhist concept. Buddhist concept, mainly Buddhist concept of interdependency, like that. So therefore, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, which come from directly from Nalendra tradition, is really worthwhile to preserve because it is almost like precious, the precious thing about whole Buddhist world. And then, in order to explain Buddhist psychology, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist logic, Tibetan language is the best language I found. English, of course, no hope. The modern Indian, Hindi, not much hope. So my sort of responsibility is to preserve these our knowledge which come from Nalanda, and for explanation these things I found Tibetan language is the best language, so therefore it is really worthwhile to preserve our language. Since we established in India also the school, I asked Pandit Nehru, since we have our own language and the written language, so we need separate Tibetan school. Nehru fully support. So we establish Tibetan school. The medium of language, English language. That also I asked Pandit Nehru. The Pandit Nehru say medium of some say Hindi. I asked Pandit Nehru then told me English is international language, so English is much better. So the Nehru really very, very kind to us. And he chose this place, my permanent place, Dharamsala in Kangra. At the beginning, we felt this place is a little bit isolated. So we prefer Mussoorie. 1959, 1 year I spent in Mussoorie. So we little bit sort of hesitate, come to this place. And then one high Tibetan official I sent to Dharamsala, Kangra, from Mussoorie. Then he report us, oh, Dharamsala, wonderful place, quite open, and he also mentioned Dharamsala water is better than Mussoorie's milk. So now, Pandit Nehru chose this place as my permanent place. Now over 60 years, this is my home. And I always describe myself as a longest guest of Indian government. Like that. So now this place, because it's not much crowded, so we can develop our own school, children's village, so on, and different also institutions here. And then mainly in South India, bigger Tibetan settlement, because of the land, we settled in South India. That also Pandit Nehru asked some chief minister or the land for Tibetan settlement. And then the response from few states and best sort of response come from Karnataka state. Then we call Mysore state. Because chief minister, Mysore, Kasa, Nijalinkapa. He, since 56, Buddha Jainist liberation, I came here. We become very close friend, Mr. Nijalinkapa. So I remember one day, one lunch. At that time, wherever I go, some Chinese, from Chinese embassy, some Chinese officials, always with me. So lunch, one table, Mr. Nijalinkapa next to me. So he quietly expressed to me he want independence Tibet. So some Chinese officer there, I a little bit so afraid. So in any way, now today in the Mysore state, Karnataka state, all Tibetan historical, also the monastic institution now settled there. So over 10,000 monk students, they carry study continuously. Now some foreigners also join. Some Indian also now join. So that's, and then Tibetan, regarding Tibet ecology, I consider Tibet is a source of water for the whole Asia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, China. Major rivers like Brahmaputra and Mekong River, all the major river, come from Tibet. So one my also the responsibility is make clear Tibetan plateau, you see, should kept more green, or preserve these snow mountains or these rivers. Tibetan ecology, very important, because some Chinese, even if it's private, sometimes they too much exploit Tibetan also nature resources, regardless, you see, the nature of the ecology. So a lot of destruction of forest. So one occasion, the Chinese Prime Minister, Zhurongji, you see, he give instruction. There's some Tibetan area, more forest area, which related with our big river, should preserve, should not deforest like that. So that's my another sort of responsibility regarding Tibet. Then those Tibetan who found new home here, including those 10,000 monks, they carry study very peacefully, continuously. So in a way, we are refugee. In a way, we really found very good home, and actually our traditional, our teachers' real home. When I reached India, 59, as a refugee, one way lost our own country, but one way we reach traditional, our guru's land, like that. So then my fourth commitment is revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So many occasions I sort of express the modern Indian. Now, as I already mentioned, modern India should pay more attention for revival of ancient Indian knowledge. And you have the ability and opportunity to combine modern education and ancient Indian education. So that I usually use to describe the hygiene of physical, similarly hygiene of emotion. You can combine these two things. So now, 86-year-old, but do you see my face? Okay, so another, I think, 15, 20 years, I think I will live. Okay. Thank you. Now some questions.
Thank you, His Holiness, for sharing your views on this. And I think you have beautifully mentioned that human being and we need inner peace. And that's the reason that in schools, we are not focused on it because of this. Youth are going towards depression and fearless. They are very fearless. And I don't know whether it's because of the parents or the educators who are pressing or putting this fear. But I think if we focus on humanity, then definitely we can bring it back, bring our childhood back, bring that childhood back in our society and in schools. And love and kindness, no doubt, education is purely based on teacher-student relationship. And if there is a love, there is a kindness beyond religion, then it's a true education. So now we'll move for our first question by one of the great educator I have met, Professor Devashish Chatterjee, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. Over to you, Devashish, sir.
Your Holiness, Namaste. My question is, the very purpose of education, according to classical Indian wisdom, is to liberate the learner from all kinds of prejudices, religious or secular. What is your view, Your Holiness, on freedom or liberation as a goal of education? Thank you.
I already mentioned this country have the ability and opportunity. You see, modern education combine ancient Indian education about emotion. You see, that also Indian tradition, secular way, as an academic subject, not a religious subject. So I really feel, as I mentioned earlier, my sort of fourth commitment, revival of ancient Indian knowledge in this country, not through prayer, not through ritual, but through education. So, like the New Delhi Chief Minister, you see, he showing interest, you see, in his sort of the circle, the education, including because of compassion. So that now, not as a religious matter, but in order to become happy individual. So through education, strictly secular way, I think India, the religious faith, individual business, individual concern. But without religion, the warm-heartedness, karuna, ahimsa, through education. Now, as I mentioned briefly, some scientists also use it through their research. Warm-heartedness is physical health, mental health, very important. So, secular way to educate in this country, I think this is very easy. you simply revival of ancient your own knowledge. So, and then also you see India's is a 1,000-year-old secular way. So whether accept next life or say the religion is different, say the personal matter. But these our sort of aim, our education should aim to create people or community or nation fully committed mentally, emotionally, ahimsa, karuna. Okay. So now, for the time being now, this named
Pandemic,
ka
coronavirus.
this illness, I cannot sort of move. So after I think few months, then things become normal. Then I very much want, like in Delhi or Chandigarh or some bigger places, I very much sort of want we should have some kind of meeting, some chancellor, some teachers, 1 day, 2 days, some special discussions. That I very much want.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now next.
Yeah. So our next question is by Jyoti Arora, Principal Director, Mount Abu Public School, Delhi. Over to you, Jyoti ma'am.
Namaskar. My warm greetings to His Holiness. My question is, what lessons we can learn from teachings of Lord Buddha to ensure good happiness quotient of our country, which is very, very important.
As I mentioned, India's secular, I think that is very, very important. If we also take some Buddhist sort of tradition, some Hindu tradition, some Jain tradition, then it become kasoda, sectarian. So therefore, as I mentioned earlier, all major religious tradition always talk about ahimsa, karuna. So we simply, emphasis on these lines. Then some individual case, in order to develop, ahimsa, karuna, some Buddhist method, some Jains, their method, some Sangha philosopher, their own tradition, and a Christian, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, like our Father. Our Father is such a compassionate sort of the teacher. So we all, according Christian belief, we all children of that one God. So if you truly believe that, then there is no as a basis killing each other. We all 7 billion human beings are brothers, sisters, or children of one God. But India, I think,
Thank you.
Without touching religion, particular religion, simply India's 1,000-year-old ahimsa, karuna, like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, His Holiness. Now I would like to invite Dr. Anju Chhazot, co-founder Mahatma Gandhi International School, Gujarat.
Gujarat.
Namaste, Your Holiness. As educators, our aim is to help children find their life purpose. So my question is, are our choices more influenced by an individual karma, a cosmic intelligence, the collective unconscious, or individual free will?
As I mentioned, you see, we should emphasize on human, secular way. If we touch individual religion, then different philosophy is a different tradition. So then creates a lot of complications. It's better, in principle, we should create happy society, compassionate society, truly, the truly committed, non-violent society. Then religion up to individual business, up to individual. And in order to achieve that peaceful society, compassionate society, some people, for that useful Christian tradition, let them follow that. Some Buddhist, according to Buddhism, let them follow. Similarly, Jainism and the Sangha and all philosophy, you see, teaching the same message. So the group of people who follow this religion, that religion, then you see use in order to achieve common goal, and from individual religious tradition, you can, you can utilize like that. Okay.
Thank you.
If you too much religious tradition, then firstly, we Buddhist, there is no concept of God. So we are non-believer. So in a way, compare Christianity, believe, we something like atheist. No God.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Okay.
So now we would like to have Dizzy Octavia, Green Educator Course Manager from Green School, Bali, Indonesia.
Namaste. Good morning, Your Holiness. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is, what do you see the best methods or ways to integrate secular ethics in an extreme or radical religion-based schools, organizations, or even countries? Thank you.
Now I think out of 7 billion human beings, most of them non-believer, perhaps religious, follower, perhaps. Because 6 billion, maximum 6 billion. So religion, as I mentioned earlier, that's private business. So now Indonesian, Indonesia, many Asian countries, like Indonesia, they Muslim tradition, Buddhist tradition, Christian tradition, Hindu tradition, and many Asian countries, all these major religious traditions, you see, live together. So now, the important is different religious tradition at one place. If go wrong, then fight. If go right way, and then learning each other. And the pluralism, religion, it's very important. So useful. Like India, many, as I already mentioned, many world religious traditions live together, so that's one advantage. Okay, so Indonesia also, I think majority Muslim, and then some Christians, and then some Buddhist. And Burbudo, they are Indonesia, Burbudo, huge sort of, what say, stupa. Marve, Shedin,
Stupa.
Kasa. Oh, I have been there. So like many Asian countries, many different religious traditions live together. Then to school, of course, school organized by Buddhist or Muslim or Christian, then different matter. But generally, the common thing from these religious traditions, then as I mentioned earlier, not harming other, helping other, serve other, that is secular, without touching any religious belief. That's a secular way. Then we can, those people who are a little bit sectarian, then we can tell them, we can argue with them that too much sectarian creates a lot of problem. As I mentioned earlier, even the same follower or same teacher, or say Muhammad, and then same Quran, same sort of daily prayer, but due to little differences, then killing each other. What use? So, in order to utilize human intelligence fully, and we must look both sides, some sort of negative side, some positive side, then you see we can take conclusion of non-sectarian is best way. The sectarian way is the religion itself now create more problem like that. So this intelligence, I think, should be open, not blind. Open, look. Then automatically we reach conclusion of harmony. And then major portion people, non-believer, so then secular ethics. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So our next question is by Gary Jacobs, President and CEO, World Academy of Art and Science, United States of America.
Karsa.
Arin.
Ka.
Arin.
Over to you, Gary.
Okay.
Okay.
Morning, Your Holiness, and thank you for your wonderful, inspiring presentation. As an American who came to India 49 years ago for exactly the reasons that you said, that our emphasis on the materialism on the outer, forgetting the emotional truths and the subjective reality is not the source of happiness and all. I very much cherish your message and your emphasis on individual choice. My question to you is, how can we educate youth to discover and develop their own individuality while recognizing and cherishing the unique individuality of those who are most different from themselves? Thank you.
I think in ancient time, you see the feudal system, then you see king or queen or religious leaders, you see, give also the just kasoda. Oh, kasoda. No secular sorry. Shouldn't damage.
They don't follow different religions.
Pluralism. Oh, in ancient time, the kings, the queens, more feudal system. You see, no individual freedom, just order. Now today, democracy, democratic world. So, including religion, each person have the full right to choose according their own way of thinking. Meantime, I think most cases, all religion, as I mentioned earlier, all religion mentioned the loving kindness. So, then the person find the Christian belief sort of God as our Father. That sort of concept feel more conviction. Good, follow that. Then some Indian tradition, Jain, Buddhism, no creator, but they also have a lot of explanation how to follow non-violence and compassion. So each individual should learn these different traditions, then which that person find more effective, then practice that. And eventually, I think as a democratic now world, so your family Christian, but you find some more meaningful, sort of more suitable to individual person, then follow some Hindu, some Jain, some Buddhist. And similarly, some Buddhist family is find more Christian tradition more suitable, then follow Christian. So we should have the not political sort of democratic sort of democracy, but religious field also we should have now democracy. Whatever you want, this or that particular, see, you have every right to choose. Okay. Then also, I think, few years you follow Buddhism, then you find Christianity more suitable, then salutation to Buddha, then follow Christianity. Like that, I think okay, no problem. The important is any religion, you see, should use or transform your emotion, transform your warm-heartedness. Now, that is important. Okay. Next, now.
So we have last question by Kalpana Singh, Head of Academics, Parikrama Foundation, Bangalore. Over to you, Kalpana, ma'am.
Thank you. A very happy and miraculous morning of gratitude, Your Holiness. I'm really honored to be able to ask you this question. It's been my dream. My question to you, Your Holiness, is in this chaotic world right now of the pandemic, economic regression, depression, and online education, what is the role of an educator? An imparter of information, an imparter of survival skills, or is it a healer?
Karsa. How firstly, I very much appreciate is those doctors, nurses, and scientists who really now showing genuine concern about all this new illness like that. So I want to express my appreciation. Some of these nurses, doctors, they themselves, you see, get some problem. So I very much appreciate. Meantime, they now scientists, scientific research, some medicine. Now in this country, India, you have 1,000-year-old Ayurvedic system. Then allopathic medicine system also there. And then also, you see, you can invite some Chinese traditional medical system. And then also, we Tibetan also have our own medical sort of system. So I think worthwhile to organize some sort of scholar from Ayurvedic tradition, Tibetan Buddhist tradition, Chinese Buddhist tradition, Tibetan Buddhist, Tibetan medical system. I think around the 8th century. So some semi-international medical conference, you see, took place under the leadership of Tibetan king. So Tibetan medicine, medical system, Ayurvedic, Unani, and then Chinese also, Chinese tradition, and Tibetan our own tradition. So I think it's really worthwhile to discuss and some medicine, or including some yoga sort of practice to reduce these newly now developed this illness. So I think India, I think these fields quite rich. So now we should exploit this knowledge. And for that, occasionally, I think appropriate time, I think some meeting, some discuss with experienced doctors from Ayurvedic, from Unani, from Tibetan, from Chinese. I think worthwhile to explore as much as possible. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, His Holiness, for such a wonderful and insight and thought-provoking session. I hope it has given a new perspective to all the attendees and educators here. And I hope educators will work on revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern education system. Thanks to our academic partners, World Academy of Art and Science, USA, Mother Service Society, Action Committee of Unaided Private School, and Spark Astronomy for supporting us. A special thank to Satin, Dawn, Tenzin, and audiovisual team of His Holiness Office for coordination and making it possible. Thank you, His Holiness, once again with folded hands. It's really been one of the best sessions at Mind Mingle platform ever. We are so honored.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, conclusion, more research work, very important in any field, particularly medical field. So we should not, contented, or further sort of research work. I think one sort of example, Buddhist tradition. After Buddha, many scholars, and particularly Nalanda, you see, they carry more research work, more discussion. That way, the Nalanda tradition further develop. So research, even in religion, you see, it shows historically more research, more analyze, and plus meditation, you see, further develop. So in any field, so more research work, I think in material field, contentment is relevant. But in these fields, we should not content. Further research, I think very important. Thank you. Okay.